Wonderful. Hey, so let's get started officially here with the webinar today. Unlocking opportunities, how TCUs can leverage college fund scholarship to advance strategic economic management efforts. My name is Juan Ruiz. I serve as a senior program officer for scholarship management here at the American Indian College Fund. I have been with the College Fund for about 3.5 years and super grateful to do this amazing work that we get to do. Um, and I get to work very closely with TCU, especially financially teams across the TCU system, um, to award millions of dollars to thousands of TCU students across the country every year to lower that barrier that finance is posed to students. And so I'm excited to be able to connect with all of you and really learn from our panelists today as to how their campuses have been leveraging our funds to advance their SEM strategies. Um, let's talk about a few housekeeping items here next. If you haven't done this already, please drop your name, your TCU, and your institutional email address in the chat. Once again, this is how I'm taking attendance and how I will be able to email you all that Amazon gift card for your participation here today. So if you haven't done this, please go ahead and head to the chat. Make sure that your chat is posted for everybody so that you can see your chat and drop your name, your TCU, and your institutional email address. Audience members have their microphones and their cameras turned off. Please drop your questions in the Q&A box or in the chat as we begin our conversation with our panelists today. And I'll be facilitating the conversation. So I'll be looking at the Q&A and the chat to look for questions and ways that you want to engage with the panel to then leverage the panel in answering those questions that you might have. Once we get started here with our agenda, we're going to start with an overview of our mission. We're going to have a really brief conversation about the scholarship opportunities that the College Fund offers. And then we're going to dive into the meaningful opportunity that we have today to learn from financial aid officers and pick the brain and learn from them as to how their TCUs are using our funding to leverage and to advance strategic economic management efforts of their particular TCUs. We're going to have that discussion. I'm sorry, but before we begin that discussion, the panelists will introduce themselves, then we'll have that discussion, then we're going to have a Q&A. So for my panelists, please stay unmuted and keep your cameras turned off until we get started here in a few minutes. And I'm seeing that a couple of new people just joined. Welcome, thank you for being here today. I just want to reiterate this one more time. Please drop your name, your TCU, and your institutional email address in the chat. That's how I'm taking attendance for folks that participate in today's webinar so that I can then follow up with that gift card. So if you haven't already, please head to the chat and drop your name and your institutional email address in the chat, please. Moving on, who is the College Fund? I'm pretty sure that everyone, all of the audience members are familiar with who we are here at the College Fund. We invest heavily in Native students and tribal education across the country to transform lives and communities. We've been doing this for a very long time now. I think we were established in the late 80s, early 90s, and it's a pleasure to get to collaborate and partner with TCUs across the country to make sure that we provide resources and opportunities for both students and TCUs to advance their success. In my role as the senior program officer for scholarship management, I get to partner and work directly with financial aid offices across the TCU system to oversee the selection and the awarding of scholarship recipients. Every year, we award millions of dollars to thousands of students across the country. Most of the students that we award are students attending tribal colleges and universities. We have a really wide portfolio of opportunities. The This year, we have over 280 unique scholarship opportunities, and every TCU student, regardless of GPA, regardless of even the tribal enrollment, every TCU student is eligible for at least one of the many scholarship opportunities that we offer at the College Fund. If you want to learn more about the opportunities that we offer, you can go to collegefund.org/scholarships. And at that link, you will be able to learn more about the application process, the timeline, and the requirements. We are still taking applications for the current academic year for the fall 24 and the spring 25. Most of the awarding has been completed at this time, though we encourage all students to still file an application, and that's going to allow them to be considered as a replacement so that when one of the students that we awarded, if they happen to lose eligibility in the spring, or if a new opportunity opens up in the spring, we can consider new applicants for those opportunities. For 25-26 scholarship application will be opening up February 1st of next year. And that's when we will doing the bulk of our recruitment. But we are still taking applications for the current academic year, and you can learn more about that application process at that link right there. All right, let's get into the good stuff. I'm going to invite my panelists to turn on their cameras and maybe introduce themselves. Okay, that is okay. We're just going to rock and roll, and we're going to use the audio because that works. I adjusted the settings of the webinar, but I'm not sure how long they take to actually kick in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Sabrina, can I pick on you and have you share a little bit about yourself? Maybe you can share with us. What your role is at Chief Del Knife College, how long you've been in that role, what your experience is, and maybe something fun or unique about you.
Okay, I have worked in accounting and operations management for my whole, I guess, ever since I graduated college. And then I started teaching business classes at Chief Del Knife College as an adjunct instructor. And we had some turnover in the financial aid department in about 2022. And so they asked if I could step in and help clean things up and get the process rolling again. And so now I am the financial aid director and I still teach all the business classes.
Cool. So you're a busy
Um,
cat.
yes, it's fun. I love it. And for fun, I have 4 children who are involved in every sport possible. So we chase them around constantly.
That's so fun. That's so fun. Thank you so much for that. Austin, would you like to go next?
Sure, you can hear me right?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
All right, yeah. So I'm at the College Fund Nation. I have been here since 2012. I've been an advisor, I've been admissions manager, and now I'm currently in financial aid manager. I've been here late or early 2018, 19. I've been in financial aid. So that's just been kind of my role. I like the numbers more than I like recruiting. So it kind of fits me. And so something unique about me is I have 3 children. They're all above 6th grade, and we have a hobby farm where we raise sheep, chickens, cattle, and stuff. You name it, we got it. So that's unique about me.
That's so cool. That's so cool. How was your harvest this year?
It was rather good, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super cool. Don, how about you? Do you want to wrap things up for us?
You bet. My name is Dawn Price. I'm Dean of Student Services at Nebraska Indian Community College. I started in frontline student services in 2001. Pretty much continued up the chain until I was the registrar. In 2008, I took a sabbatical, came back in 2011, and I've been overseeing the financial aid office ever since I came back to NICC in 2011.
Mhm.
Something
Awesome.
fun
Wonderful.
about me is the things that Austin raises, I can. So and I didn't realize that Austin was a hobby farmer, or otherwise we would have had a different conversation at Sippy.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Don. I appreciate that. All right, folks. So for the folks in the audience, we're going to be transitioning over to our panel discussion. And so I'm going to be the one facilitating the conversation today. And I have a series of questions that I've shared with the panel today. So they're looking out for what's coming. But as you begin to hear their answers, if you want any follow-up engagement from the panelists, if you have any questions, you want them to come in further on anything, please add those questions to either the chat or the Q&A. I'll be keeping an eye out on both, and then I'll be prompting those questions to the panelists for us to follow up. I think it would be also good to lay some context so that folks in the audience hear a little bit more about what your particular TCUs are like. We know every TCU is different. Every TCU serves a unique demographical area, right? And because of that, their enrollment size and their enrollment type can be a little bit different. So I'm wondering if maybe Don, would you be willing to share a little bit with us some more details about what makes Nebraska Indian Community College unique? What kind of students do you serve? What are your students like? What can you tell us about your TCU?
Yeah, absolutely, Juan. So, NICC serves dominantly a non-traditional student body. Most of our students are single parents with kids. Our population is roughly 75% female, 25% male. A lot of our students are working adults that are trying to, better their positions in their careers by taking or by doing, working towards a degree. So our students don't require of us right now a lot of like activities and on-campus things because most of them, their activities are their kids, right? Their activities are their community. And so dominantly our students are non-traditional. Our actual age level has started to lower a little bit, but they're mostly single parents with kids working, and we transitioned almost totally to online. I mean, we still have a few on-campus classes, but most of our students in some form or another do like virtual or totally online or blended, where part of the classes meeting virtually and part of the classes online. We don't have much student traffic on campus anymore, except for like special events and support with, technology and those kinds of things. So our students are dominantly connected to us in a virtual way now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Sabrina, how about you? What can you share with us about Chief Don Life College? What are your students like? What's your TCU like?
Well, we are a small school located on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in southeastern Montana. And the way I like to explain this to people is we are about an hour and a half away from the nearest Walmart. So we are very remote, very rural. We have a consistent enrollment of about 200 students each semester, and we are pretty evenly split between traditional and non-traditional students. We are geographically located in between 3 tribal high schools, so I think that helps with our traditional student numbers. We have slightly more females than males. We offer associate's degrees, and we have a lot of agreements with larger schools, 2+2 agreements, so our students can move on. But our top 3 programs for our associate's degrees we've seen are general studies, addiction studies, and business. Our campus is fairly small. We do have a lot of student traffic. We don't do a ton of online classes. We have a few, but we have a main building that holds all of our classrooms and offices and student services. And then we have an academic achievement center, and that is the host to all of our remedial math and English labs that the majority of our students start with. We have a great library called the Wooden Legs Memorial Library, and then we have a cultural center. And the Cultural Center works on preserving oral history and the Northern Cheyenne language.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Sabrina. Austin, let's wrap it up with you. What can you tell
Hey,
us about the students, the
yeah,
College of Menominee Nation, and your TCU? What are you guys like?
yep. College of Menominee Nation located central Wisconsin or by Green Bay area. Our main campus is in Kashina, which is on a Menominee reservation, and we also have a small campus in Green Bay next to the Oneida Nation area. We currently, the last few years, have been averaging between 350 students every semester. Mostly non-traditional. Our numbers for high school are getting better. We're starting to do some better partnerships and collaboration with the high schools around the school here. We're primarily in person as well. We just started some online classes this year. We don't have any programs that are online, but we are working towards that to branch out. Our campus employs roughly 82 staff. We've graduated 1,200 people since it started in 1993. We have 6 bachelor's degrees, 9 associate degrees, and 6 tech ed degrees. So a quite variety of degrees for students who come here. Our major programs, as of right now, have higher numbers are business, liberal studies, and the teacher ed program.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Austin. So as you can hear, folks, we have folks with experience in financial aid and student engagement, student enrollment from across a variety of different TCUs located in different places, serving different kinds of communities, drawing different kinds of students. And one of the first places where I wanted to learn from our panelists today is on their experience and their observations regarding those connections that we see between student success and financial aid, right? And so I'm really curious to hear from our panelists how they have observed how financial aid, college affordability, having funding to go to school supports and advances students' enrollment and students' ability to remain in school and be successful. If any of you would like to start, that'd be awesome.
Can you kind of repeat the question again?
Yeah, for sure. So in your experience, Austin, working in financial aid, how have you noticed that college affordability and students' funding, how that impacts enrollment, retention, and student success?
I'll go ahead and start one if you want.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So because our students, okay, so number one, economically right now, students are challenged, right? Housing is super expensive right now. Food is super expensive right now. Like they're really challenged to work, sustain their families, go to school. Like I say they are the warriors of today's, of our society today, because they are really doing everything they can to improve their lives. So it really makes a difference for students if they have an extra 1,000 or an extra $2,000 that, helps pay some bills or helps them, set aside a little bit for, upcoming holidays or, whatever those things are, so that their lives are full and enriched while they're also learning and growing and advancing their careers. One of the things that AICF did this year was they did that emergency aid pot. That's so important. It's really hard to plan for when you're going to have a tire blowout. So those kinds of things that help keep our students, engaged in their lives and attending school. Our students don't have to necessarily make it to campus, but they still have to find some place that has internet. They still have to keep their technology working. They still have to do homework. Like all those things still apply. So financial aid is so important to student success because it can really make or break them in their, reaching their educational goals.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Don. And I really appreciate you highlighting that opportunity that we offer to students to access that emergency funding. And I think that, as I'm sure that everyone in the audience knows, a person's ability to enrolled in school is dependent on everything about their lives outside of the classroom uh, going well and not being disruptive, right? So when a tire blows out, when your check engine light goes off, or when something like that happens, that can really derail folks. And additional sources of funding help students be able to meet those basic needs and stay in school. Sabrina, what about you? What have you noticed? What connections have you noticed between financial aid, college affordability, student funding, and student success?
Our school took a really hard look at this last semester and tried to look at retention, what most of our students might have been complaining about, or why they wouldn't be able to be successful. And so we started offering a van that goes and picks students up and takes them home. We offer a lunch while they're on campus as long as they're enrolled in 6 credits. We did the same with our emergency funds. We made that available for emergency automobile situations or groceries. We had a lot of students needing help with groceries. So trying to remove those barriers for those students and remove that financial burden, that's really what keeps our students motivated and coming instead of leaving school and having to go get a job.
Yeah, thank you for that. Austin, anything else from you that you want to add to this
Yeah, all I
particular?
really wanted to add was I think the financial aid office is so important to make sure students understand where they're going to sit for this semester. Because if they're worried about getting by or getting the money to pay the rent, their focus isn't going to be on school. It's going to be on the other issue. So I think the communication with the financial aid office is huge. The student needs to know where they sit and how they're going to get by. And so I just think it's that important. And our job is to try to make students feel like they don't have to worry about so much extra funds, that they can get by and they'll be fine. So again, communication is huge.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Austin. Folks in the audience, as you're hearing initiatives that TCUs take on their campus, do you have questions about, as you're hearing pretty much anything that you hear from a panelist that brings up curiosity for you, or you have a follow-up question, please don't hesitate to have or to drop any follow-up comments that you have in the chat and or in the Q&A. And I'll be monitoring those 2 chats and bringing things up to our panelists here. All right, so as we think about the partnership that the College Fund has with TCUs, every year we award TCUs hundreds of thousands of dollars for each TCU campus to select scholarship recipients at their campuses. And so every TCU, the financial aid at every TCU has quite a bit of flexibility over how those funds are utilized, what students are awarded, which students are not awarded. And so before we begin kind of talking about how those funds are used, I'm wondering if maybe, Sabrina, can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been working with the College Fund in the selection and the awarding of those TCU scholarship recipients?
What we do is we encourage all of our students to complete the AICF scholarship along with their FAFSA. So every student that comes into our office, any student that applies for any type of financial aid, we tell them FAFSA, AICF every single time. You guys have been really great to work with. I love that there is money available for every student, no matter the situation, and that allows us to celebrate those students. And that really keeps them going too and makes them want to continue applying and continue getting good grades.
Don, what about you? How has your experience been working with the College Fund in the selection and the awarding of TCU scholarships? And what strategies do you take to kind of communicate that opportunity to your campus community?
So I just kind of want to ditto like everything Sabrina said, because that I would say all of that stuff is similar at Nebraska Indian Community College. The one thing that I would add is I've seen the College Fund really work diligently understanding that not all students go to school full time. And so you guys have really worked diligently to try to help give space for those students that are, part-time or, that are non-traditional and part-time, I guess I would just say. So I really appreciate that about American Indian College Fund. And I've noticed that that shift has just allowed it's started to fit the NICC student profile a little bit better because so many of our students don't go to school full time because of other, life responsibilities. Um, and then I would say, the other thing that the College Fund has done is like they've done some flexible things like the emergency aid. Like they've done a program with the presidents to allow for development through, cabinet and leadership. There's just been a lot of things that AICF has done that are affect the students in an administrative way that goes beyond just scholarships, although the scholarships are hugely important. So, yeah, I would just say that you guys have been great to work with. I mean, answer questions, help us. And Student of the Year, I think, is amazing because it gives us a chance to showcase a student, and say, hey, this is NICC Student of the Year, and really like shoot that out. I mean, I just think that that's a great opportunity for us as colleges to be able to highlight a student every year. So,
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite times of the year is when we're working on that celebration for the student of the year and getting together at the AHAC student gathering in the spring. It's a lot of fun to see folks there and get to celebrate those outstanding scholars. Um,
yeah, and the faculty really engage in that too. So,
so yeah. Hey, Austin, is there anything here that you want to add? What's been your experience like working with us at the College Fund in administering or TCU scholarship funds?
Yeah, all I can say is that the partnership has been easy. It's been awesome what you offer the students, even outside of just the scholarship money, even the the get-togethers that you guys try to offer other students to get together and learn or career or whatever it is. It's just awesome. Students have other options out there. I have no complaints about our partnership, and if no one's doing it, they need to do it. So thanks.
For sure. Thank you for that. All right. Hey, Don, let me bring this back to you here. And so, we at the College Fund allocate a certain amount of funds to Nebraska Indian Community College. And I forget exactly what your allocation was like this year, but let's just say, for example, that your TCU gets $100,000 in TCU scholarships, right? And then you get to see all of the students at Nebraska Indian College that have completed our application, right?
yep.
How do you and your team go about selecting which applicants are going to receive an award? And how do you leverage that funding to advance students' enrollment, their retention, semester after semester and year after year?
Yeah, so the first thing we do is during census and final census, data corrections and that kind of information. We notify students that have applications started and haven't completed them. We think it's really important to try to capture those students that thought that they were applying but didn't get all the way through the application process. So we make multiple attempts to get those students to complete applications. And then when we actually get ready to disperse, we actually meet by committee. So the committee gets together, and what we've done in the past is we've primarily focused on, be it lag measures, right, with enrollment status. So how many credits are they enrolled for? And cumulative grade point average. We really focus on those as far as allocating. And then we make a really serious attempt to award every single student that completes an application. Now, this might reduce the dollar amounts on the scholarships, but we do we do a division down, and then the extra pot of money we disperse back over our students that are full-time or near full-time enrollment that have 3.5s and higher, because we really want to highlight those students and do extra dollars for those students. Sometimes that means you have to rework the worksheet, but oh well, it just, you just do what you do, right?
Yeah.
But we try to really focus on students that are staying active, staying engaged, keeping their GPAs up, and working towards their degrees. So
Thank you. Sabrina, how do you all approach the selection and the awarding of TCU scholarship recipients at Chief Dole Knife?
What we do is very similar to what Don just said. We try to reach out to those students who might not have finished their application. And then I go in and pull down every completed application and create a big spreadsheet. And then I enter my own data because with our students entering their own GPA and credits and things like that, they're not always accurate. So we start with accurate data on our end. And then I take it to a committee as well. And our committee has faculty, student services, administration. And we're such a small school that we know all of our students and we know their individual struggles, or maybe that they're ready to move on to another college to get their bachelor's. So we know what's happening with all of our students, and that kind of helps us award as well. We also try to focus on those students that have those high GPAs that are really close to finishing their degrees. And I just really rely heavily on that committee. And then also what I really appreciate is some of the programs our students don't initially match up with, then I can just let you know, and then you can go in and fix their account so that they become eligible for those ones, because if the student's data is different than ours, we are able to go in and fix that. We're not stuck with what the original recommendation was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Aston, let me still ask you the same question, but I'm gonna maybe nuance it a little bit or add something else that I'd love to hear your feedback on. So yeah, let us know how your campus approaches the selection of TCU scholarship recipients. And then of those folks that apply in any given year, what percentage of those applicants do you say, or would you say, end up receiving TCU funding, TCU scholarship funding?
So just, I guess to answer that real briefly, we had
Yeah.
83 applicants that filled out the ICF application this year, and of the 83, 78 got scholarships. The 4 or 5 that didn't get it, they were at their financial need already. That's kind of why they didn't get anything. So I guess I'll sentiment what some of the other 2 colleges, we try to give, who all apply, we try to figure out a way to give everybody some funds in there some way, somehow. I consider this process a big puzzle. We're trying to put these students in areas where they qualify for the scholarships with the criteria you have, etc. I guess real quickly, how we do ours is, you guys have those 3 essay questions on there. I have a committee who reviews those 3 essay questions and gives them 15 points are allocated for each essay question. And then I throw in like their GPA, their financial need, their credit load, and one other thing. And I have like 105-point system. And then I put all these points together, and then you rank highest to lowest. And then I start putting the puzzle together on where they can fit in and fit what category for the scholarship. Obviously, the people with the higher scores typically get a little higher amount, and then I work my way down. And again, trying to give everybody some funds. I'm just trying to think if I'm missing anything, but in general, that's what we do. Put the puzzle together and have that point system.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So 80, you said 83 and 78.
Yep, 83 applied this
something
year
like
and
that.
78 got a scholarship from us.
Wow. So would you say that, and what's your enrollment like this fall semester
We're
across
just
your
above
campus
300
roughly?
this semester.
Okay.
And that
So,
includes high school students, so they're not all degree-seeking students. But
oh,
yeah.
sure. Okay. Let's say that your degree-seeking students, maybe that brings out the enrollment count to maybe 200-ish.
Sure.
Would you say that if more students engage with the College Fund Scholarship application, there would be more funding? You would be able to award more students evenly or equitably across the applicant pool?
Oh, I think so. I think there's a way I could, with the amount of money you give us, and if more people would apply, I think I could find ways to give students money. When you up the minimum amount to 750, it challenged a few things here and there, but with the amount of money you give us, it's been pretty good so far. Did we
Sorry
lose
about
Juan?
that, folks. I had something on my door that was bothering me and distracting me, so I was closing my door. Don, what about you? Do you think that there is an opportunity at your campus to get more students to engage with our application and for you to disperse those funds more equitably or more evenly across your community? What is that like for you?
Yeah, so we actually probably only awarded at, I mean, I'm just going to kind of shoot a number from my hip here
Sure,
without
yeah.
actual, but about 90%. And that's primarily because with our online learning,
Mhm.
we've actually increased our non-native population. And so kind of we use the same strategy Sabrina was talking about earlier, FAFSA, AICF, right? And so we actually had, I'm going to say roughly 12 non-native students that we did not serve this year because of that funding source. And then, of course, we redirect them to other, to other applications, other scholarship sources.
Yeah.
But so that would be one area that, would for sure, benefit our student population. But as far as our native student population, like we know that there is a number of students, well, we still have incomplete applications sitting in our,
Sure.
count. So
Mhm.
you would be able to increase that number. I mean, that's what we would look to do because I feel like, and or increase the award amounts to move students closer to, because like right now we have not had a single student meet cost of attendance yet. So, so we'd be able to move students closer to cost of attendance, which would help them not have to have, as many hours, working or second jobs. So,
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that would be the opportunity here. It sounds like Austin's campus is in the same place. The opportunity here is how do we engage more students at TCUs to complete the scholarship application from the college fund so that you are then able to award your allocated scholarship programs more evenly across your campus and
right.
bring everybody a little bit closer to meeting that cost of attendance and be close to fully funded or as close to it as you can get.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Sabrina, what have you noticed? What impact have you noticed or funding has on those students that end up receiving either a TCU or a full circle scholarship?
We definitely see retention out of those students who receive your scholarships.
Mhm.
We also have a couple students who are very smart financially, and they will get your scholarships. They will pay off their tuition here, and then they will save that. And so then when they move on to get their bachelor's, they have money in the bank to pay
Yeah.
for their next school so they don't go into debt because they know that their Pell won't cover everything they're going to need when they move on to a larger school.
Mhm. Mhm. So it sounds like it's a good opportunity to just give students some financial cushion, not just for the now, but for the later, if the student chooses to save that money for what's coming down the pipe for them later, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's super cool. Um, yeah, Austin, so as you think about your campus community, what are some strategies that you think could be shared with the audience here as to how you guys create awareness about our partnership and our scholarship programming?
Well, I'll sentiment a lot of, I know the other two have said that, when you were helping somebody at FAFSA, you're also going to throw in, hey, don't forget to do AICF and here's the link for it, or here are the instructions on how to do it. We're trying to catch, I've been working on it as a personal narrative in our office is to catch students earlier before the semester starts when they're already registered, when they're already locked into coming, is to get them to fill this out before the semester starts so they don't have to worry about it when it starts. So I've been trying to do that. I have a financial aid weekly update for all my students, and every week I'm including that scholarship information in there. Now, if I could just get them to read it all the time, uh, I need to probably incorporate instructors a little bit more, or the class people who are actually in front of them physically, maybe to spread it out some more to help that. But they always say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I try to get this scholarship information in front of them as best I can, and
Mhm.
through everybody, whether it be advisors, teachers, etc. But I just wish we could get more to people to apply it. But this year was pretty good.
This year was pretty good. And what I've noticed is, across, so this is my fourth year at the College Fund, and I feel like every year our numbers continue steadily and continuously just increase a little bit at a time, right? So where everything is on the upward trajectory, and creating that campus awareness, highlighting the College Fund brand, and partnering with us in recruitment, I think this has been really effective tools to recruit more students and to encourage more students to complete our application. I want to go back to Dawn's, because Dawn mentioned that your campus has that committee, right? And you'll review all applicants, and then together you select recipients. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that committee is like at Nebraska Indian? Who is part of that committee? What functional areas of your campus are represented in that committee?
Mhm.
And how do you balance kind of those needs of wanting to fund students so they can continue to be retained year after year? And how do you balance financial concerns and different things like that?
Actually, our committee is structured very similar to Sabrina's committee that she mentioned
Mhm.
earlier. So we have administration, we have faculty, we have student services, the registrar, we have a billing office. So like they know if anybody has an outstanding bill that we should be aware of. There's lots of different people on that committee. So it's always challenging a little bit to find times to meet, but we just try to schedule early and often, right? And then
Mhm.
you were talking about the application completion one, and
Mhm.
two things that I think have really impacted application completion. And one was going to the once a year application. Like I think that
Mhm.
has been significant. And I totally understand why you guys do the February 1st as the new year application, because
Mhm.
that already starts student thinking about the next year.
Mhm.
And I know that was really challenging for us when we first made that switch over, and
Mhm.
students weren't allowed to register all during the spring semester for the
Mhm.
for the current academic or for the current award year.
Mhm.
But I think that it's been really positive. We just had to, educate, learn, re-educate, and communicate that information out to the students. So I think that made a big difference. And I'm not sure that answered your question, so I'll let you ask again.
Uh, what functional areas are represented in your committee? Do you pull in people from like academic affairs, student advising? Obviously, you
Mm,
represent a little because you have background in financial aid, so I think you represent some of that as well. But
mhm,
how do you structure a committee that is well represented of all aspects of student life?
mhm. So deans,
Mhm.
faculty, registrar, business
Mhm.
office,
Mhm.
and then of course our financial aid advisor. So
Mhm.
we have everybody is at that table when we meet.
Mhm. Great, thank you for that. For folks in the audience, I just wanna, it looks like, wow, time is flying by. We have about 10 minutes left in the webinar. As folks have questions, because we're gonna transition here into the Q&A section in a minute. But please drop your questions in the chat or in the Q&A if you have any questions about how these three different campuses, these three different folks leverage your funding to support students in any kind of strategic way, or any questions that you have for folks today, please drop them in the chat and I'll bring it up to them. Sabrina, let me go to you next. And where do you think that the opportunities lie as we think ahead? How do we grow our partnership? How do we get students more funding from the college fund? And how do we engage folks moving forward?
I think any social media presence that you have that we can share really um, helps our students know. I'm trying to have our faculty also share that in their classes.
Mhm.
And this year we started a new orientation class that we haven't had in a long time. And so we actually
Oh,
went
very
in
cool.
and spoke and had everyone fill them out there too. So I think it's just getting face to face in front of our students for us. That's the best way to get that
Yeah,
out there.
absolutely. I love that idea of, see, it sounds like you guys are working on baking in the college fund scholarship application into your first year of programming. Is that right?
Yes, it is. They take a week to fill out certain applications, and one of them's their FAFSA, and then one of them's their AICF, and then
Mhm,
there's a couple other scholarships that they do, and they do that in class. So
mhm.
they have to do it. It's part of their grade.
Okay, that's super cool. I really appreciate that. Austin, are there any kind of baked-in strategies that you will have at College of Menominee to engage students in either, FAFSA completion or the scholarship completion for the college fund or anything else? How are you kind of baking in those administrative processes into the day-to-day life of a student?
That's a loaded question for me.
Yeah.
But again, it's just trying to educate the students on what's all available to them. When they come in
Mhm.
and work out a FAFSA, when they complete the FAFSA, I'm trying to send them communication saying, "Hey, here's our scholarships you can apply for. Here is the next step of things you might want to consider." This is, I've noticed that if I throw the number in there, if I say something like, "Hey, the AICF Scholarship Fund gave us $98,000 this semester.
Mm,
Please
mhm.
apply." I tend to get more
Contextualize
people
it.
interested in applying. So when I throw them
Yeah.
that number, they're like, "Oh, that's a lot of money."
Yeah.
Um, just trying to, again, educate them, communicate with them, whether it's through email, whether it's face to face,
Yeah.
my financial aid update. It's just, I've really made this, I want to make sure the financial aid office is being transparent and the students feel that way. And so that's
Yeah.
been kind of as I've taken over, that's what I've really tried to develop is to be more self-apparent to all the students and then include everything they need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. All right, folks, let's begin to wrap up here. As more questions come in the chat, I'm keeping an eye out on, I've gotten a few via the private chat, and that's great. So any way you want to get them in, that's totally fine. So keep sending those in for the next couple of minutes that we have together. But let's begin to close out. And I want to give all the panelists to reflect on, if you were to share something that you're doing right now successfully in the realm of enrollment and retention and finances, whether that's financial aid, scholarship funding, college affordability, something that your campus is doing successfully right now that is proving to give good results, and you wanted to share that with the audience. What would that takeaway or that success item, success story be? So as you're ready, so I don't want to put anyone on the spot.
I can start.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sabrina.
We've recently, well, not recently, but we've started adding more dual enrollment
Uh-huh.
classes.
Uh-huh.
So we have some of our Northern Cheyenne language instructors will go to the local colleges and teach a morning class, and
Hmm.
students will get dual credit for that. We also have some science classes that students can get dual credit for. That helps those students be comfortable with our instructors, and then they feel more comfortable coming to college after they graduate. So I think that's
Mm,
helped with our recruitment and our retention because they already have those relationships built with those instructors. And then financial wise, we're just building that into every step of the way. We've gone to the high schools, we've helped with their FAFSA days. We also do scholarship days. So we just try to recruit them from the very beginning, make them comfortable with the process, and then that has really started working for us.
absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Sabrina. Don or Austin?
So I'm gonna go like this. So enrollment, we actually have significantly increased our enrollment over the last few years. And part of that is the flexibility of online and virtual coursework. I think that our students appreciate having those options. I mean, there have been some growing pains involved with that, but we have people that have diligently developed our learning management system in Canvas. We've continued to develop our student information system so that students have access at their fingertips. Those things are just really important. Where financial aid falls into that is that some students, are coming back to college and don't as first time attenders. And so just trying to give them clear paths. We've tried to clean up some of those paths, but I always think that we can improve those pathways. One of the things, I know it just sounds simple and easy, but we rearranged our webpage, our scholarships webpage, and made sure that AICF was at the top of the list, right? And we moved up Native Forward and we moved up Cobell, and we made sure that those three were at the top of the list. And then we went to a non-native search portal to FastWeb, so we're trying to create access for all of our students, across the board. And as far as retention goes, I always say retention is so multifaceted, right? Because life happens and it's easy to step away from school when life is happening. And so if we can create spaces where students can communicate that life is happening and help give them supports, we've really institutionally, we've tried really hard to have access to free virtual healthcare for mental health and supports. And that has been significant, I think, for our student body. And even though it's not every student using it, the students that need it have it at their access. So, those are the things that I think NICC has really planted our feet on as far as supporting retention.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Dawn. Austin, you get the last word today. Do you want to share with us something successful?
I don't really have too much to add to that, but Sabrina talked about getting in high schools, doing dual enrollment. We're doing some of that. I wanted to mention that something that I think the AICF and along with the CMN has their own privately funded scholarships. That's kind of like money we raise that we can give back to students. Has really been helpful to students who come back to school and want to get a different degree, who maybe already have a degree or out of Pell or out of grants. I think, selling that to the students who want to come back and realize they don't have much funding left, knowing that those scholarships are there, have been key to getting those students in the door and to either complete a degree or earn another degree they want to help them in their life. So I'll end on that note.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Austin. Thank you so much for your participation, everyone here today. We're coming up on the hour. I want to wrap up by just having this displayed here in chat. Here we go. So my team is here, is available, is happy, is looking forward to connecting with you and the students that will support to continue to work with your students in engagement with scholarship. There's amazing resource that somewhat limited only to students. So I think that is one of the first barriers that students. I am also dropping here in the chat for everyone to see my direct email address. Or should any of you want to follow up with me and have a more in-depth conversation regarding how we can support your strategic learning management plans with the scholarship programs, how we can pull in any resources that we are already collaborating with in your college campus and elevate the visibility of our opportunities to again support your SEM programming, I'd be more than happy to connect and follow back up with all of you. Otherwise, thank you all so much for being here today. Keep an eye on your email addresses. That gift card is going to be hitting your inbox here by the end of the week. That gift card might go to your spam or your junk folder. So be sure to keep an eye out for that there. It might take until the end of the week. Otherwise, thank you all so much for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. And thanks again to all my panelists. Thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing your experience. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.